In my second video, I discuss 10 design strategies you can use that'll improve the quality of your home. Hi, I'm Daniel of Daniel Clark Architect. This video is for anyone considering building a new house or remodeling an existing one and is looking to bring down the price of construction dramatically. This video carries on from part 1 where I discussed a lot of techniques that people generally use to bring down the cost of construction for their house. However, this video will discuss 10 design strategies that you can use to bring down the cost of construction substantially and end up with a better house. Tip number 1, and this is going to be probably the most important, is hire a builder early in the design phase. The reason why is he'll be able to make cost-saving suggestions as the design evolves so that they can be incorporated into the design instead of being applied as an axe, a cost-cutting measure after the fact. In addition, this gives the builder, if you select him to build a house, a better idea of the house and simplifies the onboarding process. It gives you an extra set of eyes to avoid missed coordination and missed details that'll affect the price later on. A lot of the builders will in fact credit you the price of the pre-construction service to your build because it saves them money in the end anyways. Tip number 2 is a simpler building form. There's a spectrum of complexity from a boxy bunker to the palace at Versailles. Everything in between. You can have a straight wall that construction-wise is very simple to build, but you move in and out the exterior finishes. The roofs, a lot of the time, will jog up and down. They'll have dormers that you don't even see from the inside. They're very costly to build and really are there just for some visual aesthetic. How often have you heard people being complimented on how nice their roof line is? Roofs that have unnecessary valleys, they're all opportunities for ice and snow, possibly leaks, or opportunities for flying embers during a wildfire to land and catch fire. Also where moisture accumulates and moss and lichen will tend to grow over time and then eat away at the roof. Simpler roof, simpler building form. Number 3, advanced structural framing, using less structural materials by lining them up from floor to floor and from roof to floor. Number 4, consult with your HVAC, your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning sub-trade or an engineer, and ask him how that can be incorporated into the water heating system. So instead of having single-use equipment, heating and cooling for your air and other equipment for your water, you can actually combine this, and that will bring down the amount of equipment that you need. Okay, number 5, plan the ventilation system. Chances are you're not a heating ventilation specialist, but if the sub-trade, the builder, plans out that system ahead of time as the building is designed, you end up with a much more efficient system, better performing system. The cost of the ducts comes down, but most importantly, the cost of the equipment that pushes the air around. And that equipment is not cheap. On a similar vein, do the same thing with the plumbing layout. If the plumbing layout is optimized, there's less piping. There's less heat given off by the hot water pipes. There's less equipment required to heat the hot water. Lower piping costs, lower equipment costs. Number 7, develop a daylight design strategy. And what that does, in addition to give you a much more comfortable home, is it brings down the amount of lights that you need, reduces the amount of cooling to counteract the heat given off by those lights, and can possibly reduce the amount of heating equipment you need if you're using sunlight to help heat your home. Number 8. Now, a lot of people like super cantilever decks. If you can't bear having a post to support a balcony or a deck, get your builder's engineer to design a self-braced system. It ends up with less material where that deck connects with the building's wall, bringing down the cost substantially. Additionally, makes it less cold at that threshold during the winter. Number 9 is using fully exterior insulation. Now, this is more of a complicated topic I'm not going to get into in this video. If you have fully exterior insulation and one waterproofing membrane behind it, then you end up saving money on all of the penetrations that ordinarily would have been at the exterior walls where your electrical outlets and other pipes penetrate the plastic sheet. And number 10, this is something that really comes down to the building designer, is to simplify the junction detail. details. You can have a really interesting looking building, but if the designer is thinking about how the building gets put together, that becomes much less expensive to build, since labor is one of the biggest components of a house's construction cost. Number 11, decide what matters to you and decide where you want to spend the money the most. The aspects, the locations of the house that will make the most difference to you. By applying the previous 10 strategies, you've bought yourself some financial room where you can splurge in places that matter to you, that make your house much more enjoyable, and you're still bringing the cost down. Let's summarize the 10 design strategies that I recommend to bring down the cost of construction. Hire the builder early in the design phase. Design a simpler building form. Advanced structural framing, combining hot water heating equipment and air conditioning equipment to reduce the total amount of equipment needed. Planning the ventilation system as the building design evolves. Plan the plumbing layout also as the building design evolves. Develop a daylight design strategy. Simplify the overall structure of decks and balconies. Fully exterior insulation with a waterproofing membrane. Standardize the building junction details. Decide where spending money would make the most difference for your enjoyment of the house. If you'd like to learn more about any of these design strategies or learn how they might be applied to the design of your next house, feel free to book a project consultation call from my website.